So as you are aware that I have joined ISB Mohali campus this year, which is in 2025. Before ISB, I was in the impact sector for around 9 years. Uh, and for last 4, 5 years specifically, I was into impact consulting. So I worked with Dalberg, Grant Thornton, and World Bank recently. Sure. So the application actually starts with your GMAT preparation. So even before the portal opens, you are supposed to obviously give your GMAT or GRE, whichever exam you are more comfortable with. And then once the portal opens, you need to submit your essays, your profile details, and your GMAT score along with that. On the basis of your credentials and the essays you have given, ISB shortlists a bunch of candidates and they get interviewed. And from this year onwards, within the interview, they have also added a component of written essays, which happen on the spot. So one set of essays we have to submit as part of our application, and one, two, or three essays we have to write on the spot on the day of the interview. And of course, the interview also happens, and then the final list gets announced post that. So that's the process, like 3 steps: GMAT, application, and interviews. So with regard to ISB's focus on GMAT, one thing is very clear that GMAT is not looked at on a standalone basis. The entire profile is what gets evaluated. So even if somebody has a low GMAT, they can offset that by another spike, say by having some really great work ex or by having exceptional extracurricular activities. In terms of GMAT specifically, the range at ISB is very broad because they're looking at so many other factors as well. It could go anywhere from 615 GMAT focus score to 735. But the bad thing about this is that even if you score, say, a 695, then also you'll not be sure about an admit. But yeah, even if you have a good thing is that even if you have a low score, you still stand a chance. So I myself did not have a great score. The average GMAT score for our batch for GMAT focus was around 655 to 665, which was I think higher than the previous batches. But I had only a 645. But I think my overall profile was strong because I had good organizations on my CV, and that has helped me made it through. But broadly, I think everybody should try to reach at least the average GMAT range, like whatever the average score for a target school is. Try to reach at least there, and whatever higher score you can get, it just gives you a safety cushion against other elements that might go weak in your profile during the evaluation process. Because it's all a black box eventually. Nobody knows what clicks and what does not click. So GMAT is one factor which is in your control. So everybody should definitely try to maximize it, not at the cost of your application, but otherwise, if you have time, try to maximize it as much as possible. I think I'm able to think about 4 major things. One is, of course, the essays, um, then the letter of recommendation that we have to write. Then there is resume. Like this year only, I think they started with a specific resume format. And then the fourth is your extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So these were the major components that get evaluated on. In essays, ISB's major focus is to understand each candidate's life journey, their motivation, and their goals. Uh, the suggestion there would be to be as frank as possible. Maybe frank is the wrong word, but try to be as genuine as possible. Like put forward some real parts of yourself, personalize your essays as much as possible because mechanical elements won't work. So try to put in as much information of you as a person as possible. Like I try to put a lot of personal elements about some challenges I faced as a child, then some issues I had while when I joined jobs. So as much as possible, do personalize your essays and put the human element in it. That would be my suggestion. Then for resume, of course, try to highlight all of your major achievements. In fact, it is recommended to follow the RAC format, which is you talk about the results you achieved, the action you took to achieve those results, and the context, like what was the requirement basically. So within each job responsibility, you should try to cover all of these elements as much as possible. Uh, for LOR, you have to go to your supervisor, ideally, like your current manager. If that is not working out for you for some reason, some managers are not supportive. In that case, you can go to your manager from your previous organization or to a client, but ideally stick to your manager or somebody senior in your firm. That is the recommended practice. Then, yeah, one part remaining is the curriculum extracurricular. Like, if you have something extraordinary, do highlight it. But even if you are not a state level player or a winner of debate competitions or business studies competitions, that's also fine. Like I was one of those. Try to fill in as much as possible with realistic points. Even if you have done like small events, say at your workplace, even those count. So every recognition you have received, try to recall all of those. And I think ISB will still look through that. So I think even before any candidate starts writing down the essays, one major thing that they have to bind together is their storyline. Like they have to sit and reflect. It is something that the candidate himself or herself will have to do. Sit down with a pen, paper, or a Excel sheet or a Word file and write down what all you have done in your life, personally and professionally, achievements, challenges, reflections, all of that. And then at this point of time, why do you think MBA will help you? Like, why do you want to do an MBA? What, as in, what is your short term and long term goal? How a MBA can help you achieve these goals? And within the MBA bracket, why do you want to join ISB? So I think once these three, four question buckets are clear, you're more or less you will be done with your broad storylining, and then you can come to the specific questions being asked in the essays. I would recommend each candidate to take the first cut, but also take help from either alums or consultant, like whatever works. For me, I did not go to a consultant. I went to a lot of alums. I had a very close friend in class of 2025 who literally handheld me through the entire estimating process. So she was almost like a consultant to me, a unpaid consultant. And I'm thankful to her. And then beyond her also, I took help from, I think, five, six more alums who were gracious enough to give their time and very valuable feedback to me. So these alums were my sounding board. So you should definitely have somebody from ISB fraternity look at your essays and not just one person, at least two or three people, I would say, just on the safe side. And whatever feedback they share, accept that and I take that as much as possible. But eventually, the final call, I think each candidate will have to take on their own because there might be some feedback which might be conflicting with each other. So you are the final decision maker. So stick true to your story as well. It's always better to go to somebody who actually knows you, who understands uh, your working style, your strengths and weaknesses, and who can actually advocate for you. So a letter of recommendation is actually an advocacy paper in a way. Like whosoever is writing the letter is sort of telling ISP that you should take this person. They need to pass on these messages that this person is a very strong candidate, has done some great work, but still there are some areas that they need to work on, and the recommender should feel that ISB PGP will help this candidate, right? So all of these messages should get conveyed within the LOR itself. And if you go to a very senior person, they might not have any meat to write down. So it defeats the purpose. And if you feel that you can write down the answers and just share with a partner or a manager editor in your firm, that might not work out. People might not be comfortable in copy pasting. And that also might not sound very genuine.